Okay, and I'm back, or it's me again, as I started to say. And this short video, or in this short video, I'm just going to cover real quick the second chapter, which, as you can see, not chapters, but folders, excuse me. Um, and as mentioned in the previous video, that these two are really informational folders, to both in the sense to get you started with thinking about the readings, how to analyze literature, and so forth. And so the literary analysis folder just covers that topic. Um, Literary analysis instructions, approaches to literature, and then finally, uh, there's a PowerPoint that goes through each of the approaches. And so let me just click on these and show you how each one is organized. Don't worry, I'm not going to read to you the contents of the page. But as you see, this is what I will expect in your discussion posts and in your critical questions that that you cover or incorporate, excuse me, I can't talk this morning, some literary terms which are later defined on this page. Analyze at least one specific attribute or element or passage. And by that, I mean attribute of the text, that um, it's very dark and gloomy, perhaps, or the writing style, or a character's dialogue. You will see, for example, in the Telltale Heart, that the main unnamed character tries to convince us as the readers, as his listeners, that he is not crazy. And he repeats that over and over and over again. So that's what I mean by an element, is perhaps repetition. Or a specific passage or passages. You can break like two or three down and analyze those. You need to make an argument or interpretive claim about the specific attributes or elements or passages. In other words, literally ask yourself, what about the fact that this character continuously tries to convince us that he's not insane, that he's not crazy? What does that mean? What do you think it represents? The fact that, for example, your interpretive claim could be the main character's repetition represents the fact that we all, to a certain degree, have a guilty conscience. And that'll make more sense once we get to reading The Telltale Heart. You need to make appropriate use of secondary sources. And you don't have to do any research for any of these assignments. But if you do, which I suggest you do, because that'll just impress me even more, you can pull in, other websites, other people's articles, etc., and argue with that person, with their claims or central idea, their thesis, or you can use them to support your own claim. The latter being something like, see, this famous Harvard professor also agrees that, etc. And then you'll consult me or any of your instructors, no matter what type of assignment it is, if it involves analysis / argument, and or I should put that there, writing tutors. The Collin College Writing Center has online appointments. And I'm sorry if you can hear an airplane going overhead. I'm outside because I'm hiding from my children. Just 1 second here. Okay, so I apologize for that. I wanted to let the whatever it was, helicopter or airplane or something, pass by. Again, like I said, my children are inside, which means I'm on my back porch recording this right now. Anyway, what does it mean to actually analyze? Students often confuse analysis with summary. and they're completely different. Summary is a book report. Summary is telling your friend what Endgame is about, or what happens, so to speak, in the movie, in the story, in the book, in the poem, whatever. So make sure you read through this. And then, how does literary analysis involve argument? Again, you're, quote, arguing for your specific interpretation. So if your interpretation, again, is that the narrator's repetitiveness, it represents a guilty conscience, not just in himself or with himself, but with people, humans in general, then you're arguing for me to buy that claim, or whoever, is reading your critical question or your discussion post in this case. You're trying to get me to buy into that interpretation. And so that's the long and short of it, how analysis involves argument. And then finally, and you'll see that every chapter includes videos. These are just embedded from YouTube, but I did carefully select the videos and curate and vet them and so forth, and have watched them all many, many times. And the key terms, these were the literary terms I mentioned at the very beginning that you will incorporate: plot, character, character development, theme, motif, and there's just a word cloud, so to speak, of some. And then right here, obviously, is just a chart of a table, not really a chart, but a table of some of the terms, some more. And some of the terms you'll see will overlap between the word cloud and the table. Finally, and I cannot say enough, I would have this tattooed on my forehead if I wouldn't look bizarre, is Purdue Online Writing Lab. If you just click Purdue Writing Lab, search for, type in Purdue Writing Lab. Excuse me, my allergies are acting up, so my voice isn't too great. Search Purdue OWL, as in like the bird of prey. OWL stands for Online Writing Lab. This will obviously be the first link that pops up. And Purdue University is the Harvard for English, writing, composition, literature. It's like Harvard's known for its law school, medical school, or MIT, etc. Purdue is that for English people. And so look up, or here I've via iframe have embedded their webpage, and you'll see the basics. Again, these are some more elements you can look for if, as I said in the first video, you're not sure where to begin. Start here even. Style, imagery, theme, types of narrative, first person using I, second person you, third person is told from someone that is basically outside looking in. She or he did this, etc. Types of prose text, you don't have to worry about those. Terms for interpreting are ethereal voice. Again, I don't expect you to have all these memorized. I would pick one or two. And, some of these won't apply, like alliteration is usually more related to poetry, and we're not reading any poems this semester. But for example, interpreting plot, yes, this is a great one. Exposition, how the narrative is framed, denouement. It's a French term. Again, you don't have to pronounce it correctly or have it memorized. But anyway, so that goes on and on. And you'll see it's just embedded the entire page. But if you keep scrolling down, you'll see writing in literature introduction, literary terms, literary theory, and schools of criticism. This link directly relates to the approaches. It's just a different wording. But writing about fiction, which is all of our works except the last work, or which is an autobiography, are fictitious. Writing about literature, detailed discussion. Again, you can ignore the poetry stuff. You can ignore the world literature. And if you ever need any help with any other type of writing assignments for other types of classes, again, all right here. Job searching. Purdue OWL includes, it's just basically the Bible of, oops, I didn't mean to scroll all the way up, of writing with, grammar issues, how to quote, ESOL issues, writing scientific reports. So just make sure you bookmark Purdue OWL, AWL, again, like the bird of prey. Well, Google it, then bookmark it, because it is such a helpful resource, and it's all completely free, and it is maintained and updated by professors at Purdue. And so it's highly reliable. It's not like Wikipedia or something like that. It's very well respected in the English compositional writing communities or fields. Finally, literary claims, basically how to write your thesis statement. And this is really going to apply more to the critical questions, which are more like miniature essays. And so there are just steps on how to do that, what the claim is. It's like when I say claim, central idea, I mean the thesis statement. I will use those interchangeably. Central idea of your answer, your mini essay, not the central idea of the story, but of your work. Again, ask the what and why. What about this? Or what claim are you making about the text or the specific literary element or elements? What's your point about the color green? Why does it matter? I've read the story. Why should I care that the color green is often used? Again, what is it used for? What does Hawthorne, for example, the Scarlet Letter, what does the color red actually mean, represent? Okay, so it's in the story. What about it? That's how you will develop your claim. And there are just some examples. I'm not going to read those, but basically what I was just telling you. And then finally, think of your thesis, your central idea, the central point of your answer, your mini essay. Should be the subject, for example, the color green, and your point about the color green. Your judgment or your opinion or your interpretation or the meaning of the color green, or how it is representative of X. And then there we go. There's just some closing words. And sorry for the abrupt cutoff there. My daughter came out. Of course, because they can see me out here, I need like a secret room that I can hide in. Anyway, there's some closing points. So make sure you scroll the entire way down the text, or the page, I mean. And I've tried to make it as visually interesting as possible. Unfortunately, with this platform, everything is still very linear in terms of how pages are organized. So this was the best I could do. And that's, anyway, the literary analysis instructions. Don't worry, like I said, I didn't keep my promise. I will not read everything to you. But you will see here, these are just some more, this is some more information about analyzing literature. The literary approaches, you'll see critical theory, I'm trying to think, literary criticism, all talk about or mean, represent, not talk, because words don't talk, but anyway, all mean represent the same, quote, thing, concept, which is these approaches to literature. There's some notes about them, again, some videos And like I said, I have the PowerPoint here. You'll see there's all the slides. Each slide, besides like the first one, is about a separate approach. Make sure you do review those even if you watch these videos, but I'm much more of a visual person, so I enjoy watching videos, but I also enjoy having the PowerPoints, and you can download these to your computer, so you can just print it off as a PowerPoint, as slides, handouts, 3 slides per page, however you want to do it, to go back and reference. When I'm actually working on my assignment, that way I don't have to go to the video, find where I left off, pause, watch it up to that point, or fast forward, pause, go back and forth and all that mess. But there are some videos, and again, some key terms. And these are, when I say key terms, because it's just how the heading, it's just kind of a stock heading, is phrased. These are some of the approaches. Not all of these are covered in the PowerPoint, and not all of these are going to be used or referenced throughout the various chapters. Because remember, I said each discussion question and each critical question, response or prompt, whatever, will reference one of these approaches, at least one. That doesn't mean it's going to be all of these. I said I don't care that you have them memorized. That's why I sort of told you which one applies. You can go from there. If you need to review, you can, and look at your notes, look at the PowerPoint, and that will again give you an idea of also where to get started. Of okay, so I can look. How would I look at this from a psychological perspective? If I were a psychiatrist, how would I analyze, diagnose, treat this character? And you don't have to use medical terms or anything like that. I'm not, expecting that. What does literary approach or perspective mean? And then again, in summary, sort of the 3 steps for really getting started. Decide which approach organically aligns with your interpretive perspective. So let's say you have an idea of something you want to write about. I'm really fascinated by the color green in the story. Well, which approach? Well, that one I've already I've told you. If you do not want to use or reference, quote, the approach that I've outlined or listed in the actual chapters when we get to the readings in a second, shoot me an email, and I'm sure it'll be fine. It just includes like a sentence or 2 of why you see it more as, let's say, from a feminist perspective than you do from a psychological perspective. And more than likely, I'll be fine with it. But as I mentioned in the first video, part of the instructions and how your assignments will be graded is that you actually, quote, use the approach. So if it's psychological or psychoanalytical, that it's clear that you're answering the question or responding to the prompt from that perspective or from that approach or with that approach in mind. So that way, if I give you permission to change, I'll know not to take off points, etc. So that's why I mean just shoot me an email. I'll more than likely be fine with it. And that's that chapter. And then again, I promise you I'm not going to go through every slide, but let me show you what a typical one looks like. Categories of approaches. So you have reader-based, text-based, context-based. These are the 3 types of critical theories, literary approaches. And then what a slide of an actual approach looks like, psychological criticism. And it gives you, each slide will give you some things to look for in terms of psychological criticism, or what a psychological critic. And we don't mean critic in the sense that it's criticize. It's critic in the sense of an analyzer. What analyzing the text from a psychological perspective would look like. And you can see some things right there. And I'm going to stop it here because, as usual, I talked longer than I expected. And then in the next video, I will cover just one chapter. And we'll start probably like in the middle somewhere. I'll pick a middle chapter. And that'll be done for these series of videos. And I'll talk to you again shortly.